The Curse of Oak Island are an old Templar church, a Roman road, and a musket all linked. This week on The Curse of Oak Island, members of the team traveled to Portugal to investigate an old church and an ancient Roman road for links to Oak Island. And the guys back on the island found an old musket. The Fellowship of the Dig have only 3 weeks left before winter hits, and they're forced to abandon the island for another 6 months, but they are trying to fit as much as they can in before the end of the season. Last night, the guys at the Money Pit placed the 5th and final Cristin can into the ground and started drilling Shaft B4C. However, most of the focus for this episode was away from the Money Pit and wasn't even on Oak Island. Oak Island team traveled to Portugal. 4 members of the team, including Rick and Alex Lagina, embarked on a fact-finding mission to Portugal, where they met up with local historians in an attempt to learn about the medieval order of Templar Knights and their possible connections to Oak Island. During a quick history lesson, we learned that the Templar Knights were outlawed throughout most of Europe in the 14th century. But there's a theory a band made it to Oak Island with a bunch of ancient religious artifacts taken from Solomon's tomb in Jerusalem, items such as the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. However, a number of Templars found shelter in Portugal, and the military order even continued in that country under a different name. The team suspects that these Portuguese descendants of the Knights then used Portugal's naval expeditions of the 15th and 16th centuries to retrieve the treasure from Oak Island. The guys visited the ancient church of Fonte Carta, long considered a Templar stronghold, to see if they could find any clues that would connect to Oak Island. Unfortunately, there was no smoking gun found. There were no remaining archives, but there were plenty of symbols carved on the walls, which the guys decided to investigate. Alex spotted one symbol that looked exactly like an icon found on the mysterious 90-foot stone. The guys didn't know what the symbol meant, but it did indicate a possible link with Oak Island. Oak Island's stone roadway matches ancient Roman road. The team was also taken to an old Roman road, which was an incredible 2,000 years old. The thing that was most interesting was it looked almost identical to the mysterious stone road found in the swamp. The Portuguese archaeologist who studies this Roman road examined photos of the Oak Island cobblestone road and confirmed that both were built using similar technology. Gary Drayton and Marty Lagina find a musket on Lot 8. Meanwhile, back on Oak Island, metal detectorist Gary Drayton and Marty Lagina made a real Bobby Dazzler of a find. On Lot 8, they came across a flintlock from a musket rifle. Gary and Marty could barely contain their excitement as they passed the artifact to Laird Niven, who promptly placed it in the CT scanner. The scanner projected a 3D image which allowed the guys to take a closer at the inner workings and the material of the artifact. They concluded that the musket was dated somewhere between the 1500s and 1800s and that it wasn't British in origin. Laird suspected it might be French, but conceded it could be Portuguese. Next week, the guys will continue looking for evidence in Portugal as the remaining team members keep digging for treasure on Oak Island. On the windswept shores of Nova Scotia, Oak Island continues to whisper secrets that have eluded treasure hunters for over 2 centuries. The History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island has captivated millions with its steady drip of tantalizing clues, some buried deep beneath the island's surface, others resting in the form of ancient artifacts that seem to defy the known history of North America. Now, as the Lagina brothers dig deeper than ever before, 3 remarkable discoveries, an old Templar church design etched into stone, remnants of a possible Roman road, and a centuries-old musket fragment have ignited a new theory. Could these seemingly disconnected clues actually be tied together by a forgotten thread of history? The Templar Church, a sacred blueprint. It started with an innocuous stone uncovered during excavations near Lot 5. A slab bearing a faint but unmistakable architectural outline. Upon further analysis, archaeologists confirmed the design bore uncanny similarities to a 12th century Knights Templar chapel once found in Tomar, Portugal. The signature octagonal layout, the precise measurements, and even the stylized cross matched historical records of Templar speculation has connected the Knights Templar to Oak Island. The idea that they may have brought sacred relics, or even the Holy Grail, to the New World has been fueled by mysterious carvings, ancient coins, and fragments of European parchment found in the Money Pit area. But the blueprint-like stone raises the stakes. It suggests the Templars may not have merely passed through. They could have built something, perhaps a place of worship or a hidden chamber, to protect something of immense value. If the Templars reached Nova Scotia, they would have needed infrastructure to support their mission. That brings us to the second clue, an ancient road that should not exist on Oak Island at all. The Roman road that shouldn't be there, southwest of the Stone Chapel outline, geophysicists conducting ground-penetrating radar surveys stumbled upon a linear formation unlike anything naturally occurring. What initially appeared to be a shallow trench was soon revealed to be a carefully layered path, packed stone slabs atop a foundation of smaller gravel, bearing striking resemblance to Roman road construction. Could this really be a Roman road? The evidence seems bizarre, even far-fetched. After all, Romans never made it to North America, at least not according to mainstream history. But anomalies abound on Oak Island. Roman coins, a mysterious lead cross traced to pre-Columbian Europe, and now a road suggest a much older and far-reaching connection than anyone anticipated. There's also a practical explanation. The Knights Templar, inheritors of ancient knowledge and engineering from earlier civilizations, may have adopted and adapted Roman construction techniques. If they were building long-term, perhaps a Roman-style road would serve as a durable transport route from the island's coast inland, directly to whatever structure the church design may represent. And that's where the third clue, a fragment of an old musket, adds a surprising layer of tension to this story. The musket that tells a violent tale. A rusted musket barrel fragment, recovered near the suspected road, has been dated to the early 1600s. Unlike previous musket finds on the island, this one shows signs of intense heat exposure and sudden breakage, possibly from combat. Embedded near the broken end was a musket ball, never fired, hinting that the weapon was dropped in haste. Historians on the show suggest it could belong to a soldier or a settler, perhaps from a failed early European expedition. But when you view this in context with the Templar and Roman-style discoveries, a darker possibility arises. Was someone trying to stop the builders of this infrastructure? Or steal whatever they were protecting? The 1600s were rife with territorial skirmishes, piracy, and religious wars. If a Templar offshoot had safeguarded something sacred on Oak Island, it's not hard to imagine a violent encounter. A musket left behind in the heat of conflict, perhaps when defenders were overrun or forced to flee. Could it all be connected? Let's connect the dots. A church design linked to the Templars, a road built with Roman methods, and a musket from the colonial era. 3 clues from 3 time periods. On the surface, it might seem like a jumbled mess of timelines and cultures. But Oak Island has always defied chronological logic. Perhaps that's because its secrets are the result of layer upon layer of efforts to protect something that has crossed centuries and empires. Consider this scenario. In the 12th or 13th century, fleeing persecution in Europe, a group of Templars arrives on Oak Island. They construct a sacred site using ancient Roman techniques, the ones they inherited and preserved over time. They hide something of immense religious or political value. Over time, this location is either forgotten or its guardians eliminated. Then, in the early 1600s, explorers, perhaps French, Spanish, or British, discover evidence of this activity. A confrontation breaks out. Someone drops a musket. The site is never fully understood, but the legend begins. A living puzzle. The Oak Island mystery has never been about a single artifact or trap-filled tunnel. It's about how the island itself became a living puzzle, layered by intent, history, and secrecy. What makes the discovery of a Templar church design, a Roman-style road, and a musket so compelling is how they suggest a continuous effort to protect something through time, with newer arrivals either attempting to unravel the secret or add their own layers of deception. Rick and Marty Lagina, ever determined, are now closer than ever to understanding the spiritual and military dimensions of the island's past. With each dig, each sonar sweep, and each historical consultation, the island begins to yield.